you.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Okay. But before we start walking, we would like to just super quickly say something about the Open Forest
Maybe let's
project.
go a little bit over there.
Makes sense. Yeah, so I will do it just very quickly. So just to tell you a little bit of a background of this walk, it's part of this ongoing design research project called Open Forest, which we are doing together as Open Forest Collective, which are 4 design researchers and 1 dog. Co-researching together, it's Andrea, Botero, Jess Choi, Christina Ampacidou, and myself, Markéta Dolejšová, and Chui, who is the non-human contributor to the project. And basically what we are doing is it's this ongoing design research inquiry into different forests and forest data. So we are sort of questioning what forest data is and what it can be when we look at forest and data sort of otherwise, and questioning, you know, these mainstream, more quantitative perspectives and approaches to forest management, which are often taking these sort of solutionist approaches, you know, treating forests as sum of trees that can be seen as potential solutions, carbon sequestration solutions to help us sort of avoid or maybe escape climate crisis. So we are questioning that and trying to explore how different forest stakeholders, both human and non-human, are approaching forests. What do they think about forests? How do they live with forests? And how are they producing their own forest data through their, you know, everyday movements and through their everyday belonging to different forests. So we have so far several different locations around the world, different forest patches. One is in Central Bohemia in Czech Republic, which is where we are walking under the guidance of Chui. So I also should have said that each of the walks that we are doing has a specific guide. Then the other location that we have is in Tabanoc in Colombia, where Andrea is walking with the local indigenous Kamenca women under their guidance. One forest which is in Melbourne, which is this urban forest, sort of a little bit more artificial, where trees are assigned specific IDs and are put on a map, and you can exchange through this like digital platform, you can exchange messages with the trees. So that was kind of like provocation for us. And then we are walking in this highly instrumentalized research station in Hitela in Finland, which is really used as like a station used by data scientists, physicists, also environmentalists who are collecting all kinds of measurements about the atmospheric processes and exchanges between forests.
So those 4 forests we know very well. This one, we are guests. We have done our homework, but we promise unsuspected encounters and half-baked truths. Yes. So bear that in mind. If somebody knows a good story about the place, please share it with us, because we are far from experts in this little one.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then maybe also just to say that we are, of course, exploring these forests through these forest walks, where we invite different human and non-human participants to walk along with us and also teach us about the local forest, so the same as today. And then we are collecting forest stories. So that's for us sort of specific data format, collecting stories from these different creatures walking with us, and then using it as forest data that kind of help us with this inquiry we are doing. And we will do this later, and we should go because
yes.
we don't have time.
Or we don't walk, which is what we came to do. Yes.
But those of you who got the email yesterday, maybe you remember that we were asking if you can bring along with you some kind of an element that helps you to think about forest or like share your forest experiences. And maybe I can open it up with I think that I sort of brought with myself, and I found it yesterday here. And it's these super nice berries.
There's a berry patch over there full of blackberries. Markéta was eating them a lot yesterday, and the area has a lot. There's also here you are welcome to try. We believe they are harmless. We ate many with Markéta yesterday, and we are still alive.
Yeah.
So
Look at us.
we invite you to taste the fruits of the forest today.
Yeah. And like my thing with the berries is that I in general like to work with design materials that are not new. So I prefer to reuse materials that are already existing, and ideal that can be composted or even consumed either by humans or non-humans. So there is not much trash left behind any kind of design work that I do. And in terms of forests, berries are very specific for me because they kind of bend my perception of time, how time flows during the day, because I always get stuck a lot when I find berries. Like I'm just able to completely forget about everything and just pick the berry. So in a way, the berry is more important than email, for me. So then, yeah, I kind of like this is a sort of like escape from the working space time that the forest is gifting me very often when I go into the forest. But yeah, I would like to invite you to pick some yourself if you like, or you have a berry for you. They should be good. We ate a lot of them yesterday. And
Yeah, we are still alive, so we believe it's. Yeah.
I would offer some. You have a taste. Yum, 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 yum.
So, Ouseburn, we have learned it's the birth site of industrial revolution in this area, and you can see it in the three bridges, the viaduct we are gonna walk through. These ones were built in the beginning of the 17th century. It was first wood, and in 1850 it was changed to steel and wooden. So now there's 4 tracks of the train going there. 18th century. 18th century. Yes, sorry. Yes, sorry.
19th century. 19th century.
Yes, 19th century.
1800.
1850. 1850 around was that were made. Now there's 3 viaducts. One goes the metro, that one for car, and then this is for the rails. And we have seen some images in the Newcastle library of this area. It was actually agriculture before industrial revolution, but then with the start of the small industries, there was pottery, clay, glass, lead. Again. The area around the green patch, contrary to some other industrial sites, was because the industry was a little bit diverse, so there was many different ones. It meant also that the immigrants that came from the countryside also lived around. So by the time the industrialization left the area, there was a lot of people also living in here, which meant that by the 1980s, when the area was in decline, most of the buildings were abandoned. In the area with an interest of regenerating the area. So graffiti, graffiti art, but also music and theater had a big role on the regeneration of this area, not only as a green space, but actually as a cultural hub for this part of England. So you would find in the surrounding spaces, there's a lot of spaces for artists and things like that, and the active community involvement that makes this place possible today was born from a lot of community action in the early 80s, and then afterwards also public and private investment. There's a trust that manages the area now and takes care of we'll see.
And maybe now it's a good time to ask someone about their object or
Does somebody
things
wants to
that
share about the object they brought while we walk?
I braided lavender and I used it. Yeah, that's my object for the day.
We saw there's lots of lavender in the community space. Yes.
Yeah.
and bumblebees. I will maybe ask someone online. Yes. How about all of you joining online? Did someone bring something or object along? Nobody seems to be super keen to talk.
I don't have it with me, but I can go grab it.
Okay.
It's fine. You can maybe just tell us what it is.
Yeah, my object is some moss that I actually got from the forest right over here, and I have in a little aquarium, and that has been regenerating in the aquarium.
Right. So it's kind of still alive.
Yeah.
At one of the previous forest walks, we had this really nice exercise called face moss spa, where you're supposed to like bury your face in the moss and breathe through the moss. And it does really interesting things to your brain.
That sounds
So-
lovely. I want to do that. Maybe I'll do that today.
Tip to try, of course, one thing to take care of are the ticks. That
Oh,
you should
yes.
take first if it is tick free.
Yes.
But thanks for sharing it. We are now walking towards another point of the walk, which is this little, well, orchard or farm, which is here just around the corner. I hope you can see the beautiful bridges, although they are
Yeah,
kind of
The bridges are
overwhelming,
great.
I have to say.
The forest patch features a urban farm, which we will visit very shortly over there. And they have some grazing pastures for lamb and sheep. Wool was also very important before industrialization for the area. There's been cloth and like thread production in the area before. So there are some patches of that, and then of course fallen trees and
Which I think the fallen tree is quite interesting. Like, do you think the stones, who came first? Like the stones kind of pushed away the tree? Probably no.
One big tree is that. You know,
Yeah.
you know, these stones have been here a couple hundred years, and the 150 years. The trees
Can move. Yeah.
60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
So, but it's well, it's sucked up all the water, and it's not
Yeah.
rooted well enough to the ground. And the next one,
For me, I see it like as a story of like survival. So it's like it's still hanging there, like it's trying to survive within
no,
the.
what it's doing is
conditions,
it's
yeah.
doing its
Yeah.
job. It's
Yeah,
making
it is.
everything else work.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a terrific
is
Habitat.
supporting the graffiti art.
Yeah.
Yeah, including the graffiti artists.
Holding
yeah.
the graffiti still.
Lots of people ban graffiti artists. I mean,
Well, I will bring you closer to Andrea. How are you doing today, Andrea?
Fine.
Cool. Okay, so now we are approaching the little urban farm.
Yes. So the farm has its installations there, and they have a lot of community projects where they involve local people. Actually, walking has been one of their most used participatory strategies to involve the community, and we are, of course, then building in that tradition by walking today with you here. They do a lot of walks, and they probably do it better than us. There is still remnants of the water. This is the birth of the industrial revolution in this area because of the easy access to water. So, and then they also found nearby coal.
Yeah.
So that's why the area ended up being like it was because both of the water and the coal mines later on.
So this is the Ouseburn River,
Uh-huh.
and it meets the Tyne right
Over there.
over there.
Right.
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
And because this is one of the most important tributaries to the Tyne River, it makes this area important in terms of increasing biodiversity, creating green corridors for the area, and also, of course, the mental and physical well-being of the people that live around the area.
Very good.
So if
Maybe
you
not only people.
Yes, not only people, of course. If you want to come back later, they have all kinds of very nice activities and community spaces in the farm. And on the weekends, I believe petting of land and other little animals. Yesterday, when we walked with Markéta, we also saw rats.
Many of those. Many of
them.
those. Yeah.
So the place is full of rats, and there are many news commentaries in the local media debating about what would be the fate of the rats of Newcastle, which is, I think, a very interesting discussion. Some said that the pigeons are a bigger problem, and there are also many of them in the area, but the rats definitely can be seen around a lot, so be careful.
They're more scared of you than you
I
are
guess
of
so.
them.
Just making it mysterious.
Yeah.
So one interesting thing about the revitalization of the area, it was a guy called Mike and his brother Roy, I believe a very important theater person, who bought first the Clooney bonded warehouse and created something that's called the 36 Lime Street, which was cheap spaces for artists and musicians to have their things. So that's actually, what kind of started the gentrification or the revitalization of the area. And I found very interesting that Mike referred to the artists that first moved to that place as their shock troops of urban regeneration. He called them like that, shock troops. And they kicked on in the 80s, a little bit before the investment, the development corporation that was set up to regenerate the area. They came a little bit afterwards, and then you will see the details. Emily she commented she was participating in some urban regeneration projects. Yeah. So you can ask her more. She'll know.
I will dredge it back from my memory.
Good. So now when we are walking more uphill,
We go now a little bit uphill.
yeah, but maybe somebody else would like to share about a thing that they brought. Anyone? I guess the laptop is a bit intimidating. I realize it now. I have this weird thing, like with this portal coming from my chest, talking to you like I have a thing, It's kind of weird.
I couldn't bring it because it's a bluebell.
Uh-huh.
So they're not in season, but mine's a bluebell because sort of some of the first walks I did around woods. I know forest doesn't seem like a word I'd use in England, so in Sweden, in my mind. So in the woods, we'd go to Bluebell Wood. That's not its name, we just called it that.
Right.
With my dad, and it was usually around his birthday in April when bluebells came. And as we went every year when I was a child, and later on, the bluebells weren't there, and we realized like we didn't ever know when they'd come. And then climate change happened, and then they come whenever they do, and it was kind of sad. So it's my bluebell, but it's kind of a sad bluebell. So I love seeing bluebells because there's always this like sweeping carpet of them.
Yeah.
And there's very shady wooded, and you could just you felt like you could just sleep on it because it's all blue. So my thing is a bluebell.
It's a bluebell. But they are still appearing always at some part of the year.
Just not exactly when they used to.
In the season.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Thank you for that.
Well.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
You're very welcome.
Maybe I will ask again, all of you online, or one of you, if somebody else, then Kim has some kind of object or thing that you brought with you.
They actually put in the chat.
Ah, yeah. Sorry, I'm not.
So Christina put
As a baby, yeah, that's a good object.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they showing?
So Christina, one of the participants, has a newborn baby. So she's saying that now she has a baby on her breast. So
Okay.
that's what's making her busy.
It's a nice way of strolling while breastfeeding.
Yeah,
True. Hybrid life.
hybrid life.
The future.
And now I don't know if you, because it's quite possible that Zoom got better in like the noise cancelling. So I don't know if you can hear the noises around me, but under the bridges there is like a lot of noise coming from the trains that are coming like riding on the bridge. So it's quite interesting. We were also thinking about it yesterday with Andrea that usually, you know, I have this stereotypical idea of going to the forest for this sort of like silent meditative experience. But if you're walking through the Ouseburn forest patch here, it's quite noisy actually, because it's very like urbanized forest, which you can also see through the all kinds of landscape elements around. But so now you have a bit of an advantage because we have quite like climb to do. There are quite a few stairs. So that's the advantage of remote walking. But I will show you so at least you can feel the pain of walking. Yeah, the altitude. You can see it at least visually.
This helps.
From where?
It's a very good question, actually. Yeah, from where are you joining, everyone?
So I'm joining from the United States. I'm in a state called Vermont. Yeah. Hi.
And you have some really nice cottage behind you.
And I have a log cabin behind me. Yes. I'm in the forest.
Looks beautiful. How about the others? I think Aurika, you are joining from Finland, no?
Yes, I'm here joining from Helsinki, Finland. I'm sitting in my house, so and it's a sunny day.
Sunny. Good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, it rained a lot yesterday, so today is sunny.
Yeah, good.
Hi, I'm joining from Colombia, and I brought Amonita. I don't know if you could see the. Oh, it's a fossil.
No.
Wow. I found one in a forest here, by maybe 2 hours away of Bogota. And I was just walking into the forest, and there are a lot of fossils in the soil, in the floor.
Wow.
So I brought that one.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing it. Thank you. We will now. Sorry, Andrea has a continuation.
Those of you who went to the walk yesterday, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
A little bit further over there, but we are not going to walk over there. There is a nice plaque with a reconstruction view of parts of the Adrian. How is it called? Adrian what? Adrian Wall. Which bits of it must have crossed this valley at some point. So you can now imagine how could that look like, and the segregation forces that once also cross the area. We would like to invite you to close your eyes for a second and concentrate a bit on listening. We're lucky because no train passed about this. Sometimes the soundscape of the place can also be a little bit more intimidating, and an interesting mix of sound of the leaves and the occasional birds, and of course the motorway and the trains passing by. I think sound landscape has also changed quite much in this area, and it's important to think about how it changed. Does anybody want to share something at this point? Don't be shy. If you want to say something, it's
Here it comes. But there is interesting thing about like how the sound affects the forest creatures, like birds especially, and it really changes, you know, their nesting habits and in general, like where do they live in the forest. So it's like this one of our collaborators has a forest garden in the Czech Republic, and because they kind of clear cut it part of the valley where the garden is based, and they are constructing like new highway there, it basically made all the birds to migrate away from his garden because it's too noisy for them, because the trees used to like soak in the noise, the traffic noise, and also now the sun is reflecting on the side of the valley, like on the rock so much and shining back on his garden that a lot of the trees actually started dying. So we were talking to one tree physiologists who were saying you really need to cut those trees very soon, or they are so dry they will just fall on someone. So it was pretty sad.
in the other forest we've been walked, this instrumentalized forest. There's also a couple of log cabins that host the servers where all the data of the forest is chunked, and there's a humming, constant humming in the forest. So we asked once the scientists how they worried about the sensors. They have to do a lot of maintenance for the animals. And they said, well, actually animals don't come very often here because of the humming of the server. There's so much humming that they don't come. Now we're gonna walk up these other
once again
stairs. You get your cardio taken care of today.
Usually this place has a lot of bird noise, but today it's very silent. So whenever I walk past the same route, it's very noisy with the birds.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting, because yesterday we also were thinking it's more of the traffic.
No, it's
rather than
usually
the
has
birds.
a lot of birds. Or maybe it's I've always walked here in the morning or like late morning, never in the afternoon.
Yeah, so maybe it's more
Yeah.
calm in terms of traffic in the morning.
Yeah.
So now we are climbing to a sculpture that we discovered yesterday with Andrea. And I'm supposed to talk about it, and I have to say that I forgot the name of the sculpture.
Bottles and
It's something like broken bottle.
yes.
It's in the map, but
This is part of we believe a larger project that involves a series of sculptures that are located around the area. We don't know exactly who made them and where they are, but we found some facts and we have put them already in the map as a story.
yeah, there are apparently 4 different sculptures in this whole area, and each of them is somehow built to commemorate like the site. We can think about the meaning of the bottles. I don't know actually what is the actual meaning, but if it is somehow connected to the local part of the city or not.
This part already connects to other green areas, which are more like there's stadium and some other greener areas of the city which we don't go. The wildest part is what we left there.
Now I remember, it's called Broken Bottle Column.
Broken.
Not sculpture. Yeah. And actually, if you go to the feral map, we already made a little story about it there, but we will show everyone during the reflection session.
They're not bottles of Nuki Brown.
No.
No, they're not.
Okay. Well, and there is some text which is very hard to read, so maybe it should remain a secret. So now we are continuing pretty much into the last maybe quarter of the walk, I think. In the morning, there is this horse riding field. And there is a big sign that it's absolutely restricted to do any videos. But now there are no horses, so hopefully it's okay.
Full of small children and ponies.
Yeah. Did somebody else online have a thing to share? I think we interrupted it. This is the last intermezzo that Andrea did.
There are some comments, Markéta. Christina said that she cut a branch of rosemary from her pot just to have some natural smell while looking at her screen. And then Tanya said that my house smelled different today. Took me ages to realize that the plum blossom branches I brought in, so I have the plum blossom scent. It's out of season or sync with Newcastle. And Kim said that she loves the smell of roseberry, and that's such a nice object.
Nice. And I see that Tanya didn't hear the train, but I think it's the noise cancellation. But then you have to imagine the sound of the train. That's it. Here you can see more blackberry.
Blackberry. Last chance to take blackberries. There's a lot of them in this one.
It is also very interesting. I have to say that usually if you find any kind of berries, like in Bohemia, which is where I'm from, they are immediately gone, you know, like when there are blueberry bushes or blackberry or raspberry bushes, people just eat them immediately. And here, I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of still full. Like there is a lot that is left behind. So, yeah. So we were wondering what will happen to us when we eat them, since nobody else is eating them.
Yeah, and like the fruits just yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oi.
And they are, yeah. Whereabouts in Newcastle? 10 minutes. That's all right. Quick commute.
Local business that bring their horses. And they were here. We saw them
And now we are reaching, I think, the last data point of the walk that we thought is quite interesting with Andrea yesterday. And it's this pile of trash.
We'll ask you to stop for a little moment here. Because we are very much on time and we scripted this walk very well. These are the last 10 minutes, and while we were working and planning the trip yesterday, we saw this little bit of trash with Markéta, and thought it was important to stop and think about it. I don't know if you know the work of Max Liborion. They have a book, a very interesting book called Pollution is Colonialism. And in that book, they talk about a method they've been developing called brand auditing. So, well, they go and collect trash from the ocean, not with the purpose of finding out who threw it away and put the blame on them, but also to do this brand audit. So they will kind of like do a data collection about the brands that are whose trash belong that to attempt to make an intervention on the upper layers of the system that creates the pollution. And I thought it was very interesting that out of the I think one has disappeared, but out of the six cans we saw yesterday, 4 were from Coca-Cola. So much for empirical data collected yesterday tells about that. And we are, as promised, going to the beginning of the little walk, being now the, what's the time? 1 o'clock?
No, 2.
2, sorry, 2 o'clock?
No, it's
2 o'clock, yes, sorry, 2 o'clock, which is what we promised. And we are so proud. And this didn't look very promising in the morning, but this is it. I hope you have enjoyed the brief walk and the glimpses of the interesting green patch in this part of town. If somebody would like to comment something, share something, this would be a nice moment. Thank you.
I would add on the brand fresh thing that you just pick up that I never heard about, and I thought that it's interesting to look at it at a different perspective. For example, here we have sun nettles. I grew up in the mountains, so I knew a little bit of foraging, and so this is nettle, for example. This is one of my favorite edible. So to me, it's like looking at trash inside a fridge. It's really strange, and I think if we learn collectively to look at this small patch of greens also as a food reservoir, because they're amazing food reservoirs, it can add another perspective to the care that that we can put on them. Thank you so much. Yes, excellent.
I just want to kind of connect to what you said about colonialism for leaving trash behind. It reminds me of a book that I've just read now on holidays, Anna Singh, about mushroom and she talks about human disturbance in forests and how much that has become part of what we understand as forests, and that it's probably not easy to sharply distinguish between trash and human disturbance in other forms, and that we cannot in any possible way not interfere with forests, or not anymore anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we've done so much with our environment that simply walking away from all of it would not be the solution. That would not help the forest at all. So in a way, I wonder, you know, whether there are so clear boundaries towards pollution, interference, and what that means.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's hard to understand. For example, how would these be without the bridges and the landscape? Yeah.
So I think that we just go away and leave it to be, and that's the most natural thing it can be, right? Because there's no natural in that sense anymore anyway.
And also, what is pollution? Sorry.
Be willing to challenge that.
Please.
Well, just I understand that notion, and yes, there is disturbance, but there is wilding and rewilding are possibilities, and there are people kind of experimenting with that. It's very difficult to do on a very small scale, and when you do it on a small scale, you end up needing to interfere in order to make things work. But it's not necessarily a case of walking away, but one can be much more mindful.
It's a matter of care, and
there's a kind of care.
Yeah. No, with Rachel, I had a conversation yesterday about wolves and livestock.
Yeah.
And we have similar problems in Austria now, where we have questions whether to shoot wolf again, because
it's the same in Finland.
And again, I don't think we have changed these relationships to an extent that require our involvement, not just turning around and saying like let it be as natural as possible. Because sheep depend on humans. A lot of the livestock that we have depend on humans, and the way we configure the relationship to wild animals like wolves it's probably up to us. We need to. I mean, you can weave.
You're assuming our survival. You're assuming that humans are a useful part of the planetary ecosystem.
Well, I don't know whether we're useful or not, but we're here.
You're coming from a human perspective. I understand. I'm coming from a human perspective too. But I seriously wonder whether the future, the longer term future, the planet will recover from the disease that was humans.
Because
humans will be much
Questions
better.
whether we're going to be around to see
Yeah,
it.
We
and
won't be
other
able to
forms
say
of
no.
life will be there without us.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue.
Yeah.
if humans sort of want to carry on.
Oh yeah,
Which I
yeah.
do,
Then we've got
then-
another. Then we've
and
got
then
another
we do
problem.
have the solution.
We have another problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
Multiplanetary. So I would really love you to hold this thought about this multiple dilemmas, and if you could please, when we come back, help us craft some little stories or conversations or little provocations that we can place together. That would be lovely.
Yes.
And now we basically go and walk back to the gallery, and we'll join you back in the Zoom over there. Okay.